Okay, if you're watching this is Unit 13, World Geography. Couple things. If you got an email from me this morning, you got to take the SOL. Okay, I emailed everybody that was on my list at the beginning of November. There's a couple of you people who've transferred in that I'm getting clarification on. If it ends up you have to test, I will email you as well. That's going to be on Friday. As far as times, I don't know yet. When I find something out, I will let you know. For this unit, you don't have notes or anything. You just got to pay attention. So, Unit 13. The Australian and Pacific Island region has a bunch of different landforms, resources, people, economy, so on and so forth. This region is also known as Whatever. It's all the islands in the Pacific. Okay? It's a land area of just over 3 million square miles and a population of over 41 million. When compared to other continents, this is the smallest in land area and the second smallest in population besides Antarctica. And Antarctica is kind of looped into this unit. So, major countries, you have Australia, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Antarctica, and Hawaii. So, Australia, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea is right up here, Hawaii is up in here, and then Antarctica is down here at the bottom. Like I said, Papua New Guinea, Australia, New Zealand, Hawaii, Antarctica is down here. Major cities, you have Canberra, which is the capital of Australia. Okay, this is the Australian Capital Territory. They have this own little region set aside for the capital, kind of like how we have Washington, D.C., and it's not a part of a state. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Sydney is the other major city in Australia. This is where the Sydney Opera House is located. And then you have Auckland, New Zealand. That's the capital of New Zealand. This region contains peninsulas, volcanoes, coral reefs, and an abundance of islands. Okay? I mean, if it's in the middle of the ocean, where's my map? You know it's going to have an abundance of islands. There's a wide range of vegetation from tropical rainforest to desert shrubs. Australia is mostly desert with very little vegetation. New Zealand is, the dominant climate is marine west coast, has mixed forest. This is where they filmed the Lord of the Rings trilogy in New Zealand. Papua New Guinea is a tropical rainforest, and then Antarctica is ice cap. Okay? It's the world's coldest, driest, windiest continent. The Great Dividing Range is also known as the Eastern Highlands. It's Australia's most substantial mountain range. It's the third longest land-based range in the world. And the highest point is Mount. I'm not going to attempt it today. It's Monday. I'm going to get tongue-tied and mess it up. So, not going to attempt it. Great Dividing Range runs right down the east coast of Australia. The Great Barrier Reef is located off the coast of Queensland in northeastern Australia. So right up here. It's the largest living thing on Earth. The Great Barrier Reef is a living thing. Okay? It's a coral reef. It's visible from outer space. It's 2,300 kilometers long. Its ecosystem comprises of thousands of reefs, hundreds of islands made of over 600 types of hard and soft coral. And it's home to countless species of fish, mollusks, starfish, turtles, dolphins, and sharks. How many of y'all seen Finding Nemo?
Me.
This is where Nemo was born. Australia's natural resources are being threatened by pollution, from overgrazing to desertification, water pollution. With the water pollution, the Great Barrier Reef is dying. That's where you get this white coral. It's called bleached coral. And you have a lack of freshwater sources in Australia. Australia's isolation results in unique animal life, most of which wants to kill you. Some species are only found in Australia, such as koalas, kangaroos. The kiwis are only found in New Zealand, Tasmanian devil, wombats, things like this. Once again, they want to kill you. Koalas will fall out of trees and attack your face.
Actually?
Called drop bears. Yep.
Yeah.
Every Ever seen a kangaroo square up on a guy?
Yeah.
Kangaroos will kill you too. Basically, y'all know that picture goes around the internet every couple months. It's just a beautiful picture of the Australian outback, and it says there's 11,000 things in this picture that can kill you. You don't see a single thing. That's Australia. Don't go to Australia.
Aren't there like 25?
Or if you do,
Can't koalas give you chlamydia too? No, I'm serious.
I have no idea.
I don't even know what that is.
Like,
I
think
don't
I've
know.
heard
We're
that
mov-
they
we're
attack
moving on.
people in it.
We're moving on. It's been about 3 weeks since you've said something so weird that it actually made me pause. We had a good run. You done messed up.
Wait.
Nope.
That's just
Nope.
another reason not to go
Moving
to
on.
Australia.
Pacific Islands. There's 3 different types of Pacific Islands. Focus, child. Volcanic, coral, or continental. Volcanic islands still experience volcanoes and earthquakes. These are islands formed by volcanoes and earthquakes. Fiji, Tahiti are some examples. Coral islands or ring-shaped islands or atolls formed by the buildup of coral reefs. They're low in elevation, have very few resources, such as the Marshall Islands. Continental islands are islands formed by the rising and folding of ancient rock from the ocean floor. These are larger islands, such as Papua New Guinea. So you have volcanic islands, Fiji, Tahiti, coral islands, such as the Marshall Islands, and continental islands like Papua New Guinea. Antarctica is cold, dry, and windy, divided into 2 regions, east and west. The ice sheet is thicker in East Antarctica than in West Antarctica. It's divided by the Trans-Antarctic Mountains. Questions so far? Economic characteristics. The physical environment of the region influences the distribution of economic activities. Air and water travel bring goods and services to remote areas. Areas that are isolated from the rest of the world. Like the interior of Australia is known as the outback. It depends heavily on air travel because they don't have reliable roads to get out there. Arid areas of Australia are well suited to cattle and sheep ranching. You also have the introduction of non-native plants and animals. But like I said earlier, Australia and New Zealand both have unique species found only in these areas. But the introduction of non-native plants and animals upsets the balance, such as rabbits. Okay? The English brought rabbits to Australia, screwed up the ecosystem. They set up fences to keep rabbits out. It's basically open season on rabbits 24/7 in Australia. You see one, you can kill one. They hate rabbits. Ranching and mining are the primary activities. Communication, financial services are the tertiary and quaternary activities. And then tourism and traditional economies are in the Pacific Islands. The Antarctic Treaty was created in 1959 by 12 countries. It was called the Antarctic Treaty of 1961 by the time everything was hashed out and done. This demilitarized Antarctica and became a safe haven for scientific study. There's no military allowed on Antarctica. Although many locations are isolated and populations are small, the vast ocean environment of the region influences the culture. Most of Australia's population lives near the coast. Traditional culture continues to shape life in the Pacific Islands. Lifestyles range from subsistence farming in the outback to modern city living along the coast. And the cultures reflect the interaction of the European and indigenous cultures. Australia was founded as a prison colony. Okay? By the British. Basically, if you did something wrong, they put you on a boat, sent you to Australia, and wished you the best of luck. Both Australia and New Zealand are very developed countries. In the Pacific Islands, many of the people living in these countries are subsistence farmers living in the rural areas. Traditional culture dominates, and the majority of people continue to live in thatched roof dwellings known as bales. In New Zealand, the natives are called the Maori. In Australia, it's the Aborigines. Okay, so these are Aborigines and the Maori. I'll see Moana. based off the Maori culture. Okay, what was his name? The Rock's character. I'm blanking.
Maui.
Yeah, actually. Thank you. It's based off Samoan and Maori culture. Antarctica has no permanent residents. No one lives in Antarctica all the time. They may send teams of scientists, but they do get to live or leave. Cultural landscape, you got the Sydney Opera House, very famous. It's one of the 20th century's most famous and distinctive buildings. Before COVID, this building was visited by more than 8 million people annually. Ayers Rock is a large sandstone rock formation in Central Australia. It is sacred to the Aboriginal people of the area. We also have cattle and sheep stations in Australia, thatched roof dwellings in the Pacific Islands, and research stations in Antarctica. Any questions on Australia or the Pacific Islands? Okay, I'm going to upload some stuff to Classroom to help you start reviewing. It's basically just sums up the stuff we've already talked about. Tomorrow we will start reviewing in earnest. Rest of the class, just get caught up. If you guys have any questions, shoot me an email, leave a comment, anything like that.